John, thanks for joining me today on one of our 3-minute conversations. We initially met when you were a keynote speaker for the AusPack 2019 Business and Industry Conference, which was held as part of the Australian Packaging and Processing Machinery Association biennial exhibition. I remember we were looking for somebody who was an expert in Industry 4 and smart factories, and you were recommended to me due to your expertise and education around that, and also as a mentor. So it's very much a hot topic in the manufacturing and processing industry, and it has been for a very long time from what you've been telling me. So I guess my question for you today really is, as a Industry 4 and smart factory educator, your strength really is in your ability to demystify the transition process and force organisations to confront those internal challenges that are stopping them from rolling that out. So how do you go about this?
It's taken me a while to really get clear with, I guess, what would be the leading question. And I've realised that the best question I can ask any potential client about this is, do you want to be best in class? A lot of people think that Industry 4 is either a fad that's going to go away, or it's not relevant to them, or they're too small, or there's lots of mystery around the whole Industry 4 thing. And so for me, the first question is really, do you want to be best in class? Because if you do, then you need to set about what does that look like for your organisation? Do you have the leadership? Do you have a strategy in place on how to implement that? Do you understand what opportunities await you? How much money is being left on the table? And sometimes when we start to do a bit of digging to have a look at the opportunity, the amount of money that is literally being left on the table through waste and utilities and labour not being utilised well is actually quite significant. And I think it's just a question of organisationally, culturally, do you want to be best in class? What does that look like? Would you know what it looks like? And how can we help you then take that step to put a strategy in place for the next 2 to 3 years to actually get you towards that end?
So you must be finding it's a holistic approach, because I would imagine you get quite a few people who think, okay, Industry 4, smart factory, that's to do with the factory operation. But what you're saying is it actually affects the whole organisation, from the board right through to admin, warehouse staff, all that sort of thing, which I would imagine that would make organisations a little bit uncomfortable as well, because it's become like a bit of a counselling session.
Coaching is a part of my job.
Coaching, sorry.
Well, that too. Coaching is a part of my job, and really it is often getting to the leadership, and that's sometimes the biggest challenge, is actually having a conversation with the leadership themselves. It's almost like, and I remember having this conversation with a potential client. Let me get this right. You expect your whole digital transformation to be driven by the factory floor, with people that don't have direction, don't have strategy, don't have any support, guidance or budget. How do you think that's going to work out for you in terms of your chance of success? It has to be top down. The whole organisation has to be committed to digital transformation. And I want to put a caveat around that, because some organisations think, okay, we're committing to digital transformation, and they look at it from a big bang, whole of business approach, and it's not. The commitment is first the culture and mindset, out of which you then choose which parts of the business you're going to focus on. Where's the low-hanging fruit? What are the things that I can be doing first in order to start that cultural journey? And it can be as simple as identifying a small proof of concept opportunity across marketing, or across sales, or across manufacturing, or whatever it is, and then taking that step to at least get your toe in the water and learn from that, because massive learnings come from whether we succeed or fail, whether we get the outcome that we don't. Massive learnings come from that, which then, using some smart sprint technology, agile sort of thinking is, okay, what did we learn from that? We didn't quite get the outcome we looked for, but my goodness, we learned a heap, and so we're going to apply them to the next iteration of this.
And from this information that you're sort of telling me now as well, that's why when we had this session at the AusPack conference, I could see the light bulbs going off around the room, and also the reason why your session was one of the most popular as well. People really got a lot out of that, because I guess it gave them a starting point and a realisation around what it takes to make this happen.
Yes, and the two precursor steps to Industry 4, in other words, the tail end of Industry 3, is you've got to make sure that you've got computerization on your factory floor and that you have connectivity to that equipment to get the data out. Without that, you really can't get started. But then when you get that, then what are the next parts of the journey? What do you need to do? How do you position yourself foundationally so you've got all those components in place, ahead of time, and then build on that as you go? As I said, for some organizations, it's a 2 to 3 year journey. For some, it's 3 to 5. And in the conversation we had last week, Tiffany, I made the comment that next year, 2021 is the decade. It's the 10-year anniversary of the invention, of Industry 4. And you look around Australia, and crikey, we're not even started yet.
Yeah, which is incredible to think, isn't it? Because we should be on to Industry 5 by now, and I am starting to see that coming through in some of the industry, newsletters and things like that. But obviously, still a way to go. Which brings me to my second question, I guess, is how have you found the manufacturing sector has been impacted by the recent crises, being the bushfires and COVID-19, and how are they adapting to that? And is adapting to Industry 4 becoming even more pressing for them?
Organisations, in my view, are split into two categories anyway, irrespective of COVID, and that was the disruption, whether it comes from a pandemic or whether it comes from technology or digital transformation. The disruption is either seen as a tailwind or a headwind. And organisations are generally split into those two camps. We've always done it this way. We will always continue to do it this way. This is just a fad, go away and leave us alone. Or, wow, we can see some real opportunity here. We want to be best in class, we want to be innovative, we want to take the lead, and we want to move forward and be the best we can be. I think what COVID's done is probably deepen that divide to a degree. Some organisations have just bunkered down. And I was hearing something the other week from a guy that I was talking with, talking about the rule of 14, 14, 14. He was reading some high-end research that he had access to, and he was saying that someone's predicting that 14% of organisations will do something with what they've got. They'll take the opportunity. They'll see it as a tailwind. They'll end up growing at 14% per year, and 14% of those businesses won't, and they'll decline at 14% per year. So it was interesting seeing that someone has actually quantified this to the point that organisations can either take that step or not take that step. It's a fork in the road, and it has been there for a while. And really, in my view, based on what I see out in the marketplace, the decision should have been made 2 or 3 years ago. And the greater thing about now is that reshoring is now becoming a great possibility. There's a whole lot of stuff with the NCCC, the National COVID Commission, around submissions being made to them about what we can do to reinvigorate Australian manufacturing. Whether that gets taken up, whether we get the political leadership, whether we get the investment, whether we get the innovation fund, whether we get the R&D, and all the sort of stuff to support that at a political level remains to be seen. I'm still sceptical until I see it. But there's definitely a drive from industry.
And that comes down to the opportunities that can potentially come out of these crises as well. I think every industry, including the events industry as well, is looking at that, as you say, fork in the road. And I like the tailwinds and headwinds. I'm going to use that one.
It works.
Well, thanks, John, for sharing a few insights with us. Always love working with you, and it's been really good as well to see all the work that you've been doing over this time on your LinkedIn profile with, keeping those education snippets going out to the industry as well, which I'm sure are really, really appreciated.
You're welcome. Thanks very much for the opportunity, and stay safe and well.
Yeah. Thanks, John.